I mean, it was just such an amazing experience that, we'll talk about it later and what our plans are for the future. But yeah, I mean, super, super proud of our performance. And And yeah, I mean, that was just an all-timer in terms of events to do.
Welcome to the LTBz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 155 of the show. And for this episode, you can cue the crackling fireplace.
I'm whittling my s'more stick right now.
The warm, comfy, Chipper's probably wearing some wool clogs with some wool socks.
And my dry robe.
And your dry
It's so cold out here.
That's it.
That's all.
Only a dry robe. And if that cues anything in your mind, hopefully positive, we're talking, this is our Fireside Chat episode. This is the third edition of this thing. We've done one every year of the show.
Wow.
And the first one, the theme of it was just the dumpster fire that was 2020. 2021, the theme was like, oh my goodness, like, hey, there's races happening. This is fun. We're getting better. This is cool. And this year, I mean, I guess, some pretty big milestones were achieved. Some goals were met. Some races on our bucket list were checked off.
Some races were raced.
Some races were raced. But I think before we get to all that, I mean, there's just a ton of people we need to thank.
We have to start at the very tip top of priority in our lives, which is our family. Totally. Obviously, the kids and the wives here. This whole operation wouldn't be possible without their continual support and everything that they give us.
Yeah,
I mean, we know it's everyone's sacrificing a lot for this to happen. So we just really appreciate it, and we give them a shout out every episode. But here's another one.
Yeah, but they don't listen anyway.
They don't listen.
They're definitely not listening to the end. So putting it right at the beginning, we'll be like, hey, ladies, can you listen to the first 5 minutes of our Fireside Chat episode?
I think that'd be good.
Check that box.
That'd be good. Secondly, down the list, we got to thank kind of the friends of the show and, of course, our Patreon supporters this year. So you continue to support us on Patreon, which is outstanding and helps support our deep sticker addiction that we have, and we love to give out stickers everywhere and go do more races, and your support really helps us do that. And obviously, friends of the show. I think, Chris, this is our third year doing this. We have Swimrun friends now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who, through the show, just developed friendships with, and definitely going to Sweden this year. I mean, when we had that meetup, and there was literally people there from like 8 countries. That
was wild.
It was just so great, and yeah, I mean, it's still a shock when people come up to us and say, we recognize you by your voice and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting us, or, our brand of super niche content and stuff. And
being honestly very supportive of sort of the racing side of the LTBz too. I mean, we get so much love from everybody anytime we finish a race or get out there and put down what we have. It's always so warming to get that stuff from you all there.
Yeah. And then I think finally, we have to thank our brand supporters.
Yeah.
This is the first year where it really kind of took off. So, perma thank you to Arc Sports.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been supporting us since the very beginning. The first brand, we've heard this before, but the first brand that even returned a DM and everything. So, special place in our heart. Odyssey Swimrun supporting us since the beginning as well.
It's where we first caught the love, caught the Swimrun bug was at Odyssey, Casco Bay.
Totally.
Always a special place for us there, and also helped us stack our ranking points to get to Attila this year. Was majority of those were through Odyssey races. So if that's something you're looking to do, obviously check out Odyssey races.
Totally.
New race in Florida this year as well.
That's right. Precision Fuel and Hydration. Love them.
How can you not? I think for me, this is one area, and I've been doing a lot of thinking back, but like what's in terms of racing and being an athlete, like what's one area that I took a really big step in this year, or even us as a team? I think having the support and honestly attention of the PFH team was, I mean, we're just super lucky and fortunate that happened. But I mean, we learned so much in our 9 months of working with them this year, and it changed the game for us on our racing.
Definitely, and of course, Frank Paddle. It's like it's kind of crazy. I mean, this is the one sort of sponsor supporter where I'm always like, yeah, we're supported by a carbon fiber swim paddle company.
It's amazing. It's like, equally silly and amazing at the same time.
Totally. Yeah,
Love
Frederic is awesome. I mean, super cool guy making a super cool product, bespoke, if you will. This stuff is made by hand. And yeah, I mean, it's great.
Yeah. It's great. And our newest supporter, and dare I say our coziest supporter, we hooked up with the good folks over at Dry Robe at Attila, and they've been really kind to us, and we're looking forward to kicking off 2023 with them in our corner. And you all know when you're chilly getting out of the pool or after the swim runs, nothing's better than the Dry Robe. I'm not claiming to be swimming a lot, but when I have been swimming, it's been a little nippy in the morning, and jumping out of the pool and running right over to jump into the Dry Robe, you can't beat it.
Can't beat it. Plus, it says Attila World Championship
and
on
people
it.
Go,
so
what does that mean?
Points.
And you're like, well,
it's like it means island to island in Swedish.
And it's the Swimrun World Championship.
Yeah.
Just a little shindig.
Yeah.
The Stockholm Archipelago.
Yeah.
That's my sales pitch.
So we thought for the rest of the show we would break it down into a couple areas. So one, we wanted to do kind of like a show and review of guests that we've had, things that we've tried to do on the show. We also want to do a race year in review since we did do more racing this year than we've ever done in terms of swimrun races, and then kind of what we're thinking in terms of next year.
Yeah.
So I think for showing for the first section of show year in review, I think a couple of things that we did were different. We did this countdown to Attila series, which I think was a good idea, but I think in hindsight it was also like we're just totally putting it on blast that we're preparing for this thing, and doing it. The feedback, we got great feedback from people; they found it helpful and everything. But yeah, just thinking back to all those months, it was like, oh man, like. Oh, now we're only 4 months away. Like, damn, like what's going on? Now it's 2 months? Like, what?
And then it was like 1 month. We're like, okay, yeah, it's really coming up here, everyone. I might go back and listen to those to see how we sort of changed to those. But you're right. That was an idea that we were both pretty jazzed about. And it was cool because we were able to kind of include our supporters, and we had some cool thematics, which Chris and I don't know if anyone could tell, we love to have themes and kind of have a strategy behind it, but that was something that we really liked. But I do agree with you, it almost kind of became its own thing, and maybe I don't know if that's it's no secret that we were definitely nervous for Attila. I don't know if that, I wouldn't say that caused it or anything.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, it's like I'm glad that we had all that information. I think it helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
We heard from people that it was really helpful to have those episodes. But yeah, it's like, just so prepared for this thing that it's going to be hard. So I think being nervous was appropriate. I mean, we mentioned it on the recap show. It's like once the race started, the nerves went away. Mm-hmm. But in the end, you're like, oh, those nerves were totally justified because this thing was a total beast.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't try to... take it easy
party.
or do anything like not respect it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and then I guess we kept trying. We did the second year of Partners Month.
Yeah,
which is pretty fun. I think we're gonna keep that one going.
I do like that one.
We're just interviewing a bunch of teams. I mean, we interview teams throughout the year, but I think it's always fun to and actually one of our most downloaded episodes happened from Partners Month, where we interviewed team
Fearless Fallons,
but also team Kraken Swimrun.
Yes,
where we had Jenny and Deanna. That's our number one most downloaded episode. It got caught up in the algorithm.
The algorithm helped that one along for sure. Or Kraken Swimrun is a very popular search term or something. But that one definitely shot to the top of the ranks for Partners Month.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we had our most race report episodes this year. But we also talked to people. That's still what kind of amazes me about this show, as we're 150 plus episodes in, is that we're still talking to people that in 3 years we hadn't had a chance to talk to yet. Like, there's just so much still that we can do. It's pretty cool. Like, Gile from TSR Swimrun was a great one, and I think we really hit it off. That one kind of sticks out to me as, like, he's putting his whatever his skill in life is, he's putting that effort towards Swimrun to help Swimrun along just the same as what we are.
Right.
And that's how we really get a good vibe with a lot of different folks.
That's a really good way to think about it, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, there are so many people that are doing their part to help grow the sport, not the least of which, race directors putting on events.
Yeah.
But, you think of Swimrun Watch, you think of TSR, you think of what's happening here in the States with us and other folks, Swimrun Labs. And it's just like, it's so cool that everyone is kind of using their talents. I mean, Gilles has like a computing background or whatever, so he was able to come up with the ranking system. And with our sort of marketing background, I guess it made sense that we would do something like this. But that episode was really, really cool. And honestly, these one water race recaps.
I mean, that
is another sort of harebrained idea.
It was another fun little slice that we got to do, and we kind of spread it out over. We didn't chunk 4 episodes back to back to back, but such a behemoth of a race and such an interesting direction to see where the sport's going. Maybe it's not going all the way that way, but there is now a ultra swimrun sort of situation in swimrun. And this is sort of how we wanted to cover it and sort of bring exposure to it. And yeah, I mean, it was an incredible, different perspective to hear how everyone completed that. Also, I don't remember all these episodes off the top of my head, so I'm having to go back here and look through them.
Okay.
We might have had some of our heaviest hitters. Coach Joel Friel.
Yeah.
How we convinced him to talk to us, and then Gordo Bryn, who we had on more recently.
Yeah.
Those are 2 huge endurance.
Who we apparently beat Rich Roll to the punch on that one. So if you're listening, Rich, which you're not, just
yeah.
Know where it's at.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 huge endurance legends on the Low Tide Boys this year.
Yep. And I think there's another guest which, when we recorded this episode, I was super stoked when we had Nicholas Roman on for the second year in a row talking about EX Swimrun. Like, his enthusiasm,
unparalleled.
I mean, it was so great.
We saw him during Attila as well, which was great. And he told us, I'll be on Runmurra, or I didn't remember what island, but I remember it being in earlier. And he's like, yeah, boys. I remember it was like, yeah. I think we were feeling pretty, we're pretty peppy.
Yeah, we're pretty
peppy
peppy
at that time.
Yeah, so that episode to me sticks out because listening to the year before, which I listened to prepping for that one, it's like you can tell the enthusiasm. He's trying something new. And then year 2, it's like, all right, we got different swim caps so we can pick people up and tell who's who. Yep. We're doing all this other stuff. So it's just really cool to see the creativity that's available in swimrun. And then you talk to someone like Michael Lamel, who's like all about it. He thinks it's great. So yeah. So that one was super fun.
So we have EX Swimrun on one end of the spectrum and then one water race on the other. Right. So that's kind of where it is there.
Pretty wild.
We threw a couple Swimrun 101 and 201 episodes at you. Those continue to be popular. And I think one thing, as we're headed into year 4 of this is whenever we think, should we talk about shoes or something? We're like, no, we talk about that all the time. Chris and I say that we talk about this all the time, but then we are constantly still getting people saying, "Oh, what about this?
So
what about that?"
I was actually going to tell you this after the show, but I was chatting.
Let's have it.
My wife and I were chatting about the show.
Love it.
Poor her, but yeah, she was saying, because I was telling her, it's like, oh yeah, the Swimrun 101 episode, that's like episode 2. It's still one of our most popular. She was like, oh, you should just like re-release that or
every year, just do a new one.
Yeah, so people don't have to search. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. So if you're interested in us sort of recutting that, I mean, we did that with our partners. We did a redux on our partners episode, our Swimrun 101 episode, and I think that was pretty cool to just look back. On those old ones. So we might do some of that in the future, but that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Let's not.
Because I think what we should talk about is what I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was a pretty epic year of racing.
Yeah, it was. And where should we start?
I mean, maybe we should just go like chronological.
January 1, Chris and I in the pool. What are we thinking?
We're thinking, there's a lot of pool
hey,
action.
are we going to put in for Attila? I think in the beginning of the year, that was what our big thing was. And we have sort of had, and I feel like this year was a big, I don't want to say back to normal, but everyone had a lot of pent-up racing energy, and they wanted to get out and get about. And we did too. We were just as guilty as everyone else on that, and we had a smattering of races on, and we wanted to do twice as much. But we felt like we definitely did a lot. Yeah. Catalina was going to be on the books to start in, what was that going to be, in March or early April?
March.
So that was one that we were really looking forward to because, as we've mentioned kind of previously, that was what really was that trigger switch flick for us racing that kind of sent us to train and kind of prepare, like bring ourselves to the next level.
You know, that's
and we
a good
wanted
point.
to
I mean, it was really,
get back there and give it the piss.
I mean, it was really Attila Catalina in 2020.
Yeah.
If we think about like our World Championship journey, I mean, it definitely started there.
But we didn't finish that race and go, let's do
the World Championship.
But you're right.
It was like, this was an amazing experience, and you know, we want to do more.
So Catalina got canceled, which was a huge bummer. But it ended up still working out and being a fun thing. Chris and I both went down to the LA area. Chris ran the LA Marathon. I took my family on a vacation to Catalina. There was Team Envol Spamfica, the Adorkables, some Tower 26 folks, and just a bunch of awesome...
The Wet
Sox were there as well. So there was probably 20, 25 people who were swim runners, and we had a bunch of fun, had a couple training days there, and it was just a great time. And that was fun. And then we had Swimrun Lake James as kind of our first race of the year.
Yeah. I mean, and we have race reports for all these, so we're not going to sort of relitigate all these events. But Lake James was super fun. First time racing in North Carolina. Heard a lot about the race.
Yeah.
Had interviewed Kristen Jenner on the show. So it
excited
was super
to do
great.
it for sure.
Yeah.
And we did that race with the Concho Boyz, who are always fun to race with.
Mm-hmm.
They were also featured in our Partners Month in February. One of good friends of the show there.
Yeah.
And so, Swimrun Lake James, I think we had a really good performance for it kind of being an early season race. I forgot exactly. You had a jet right after.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember where we finished on the podium.
It
wasn't on the podium.
We were
but
fourth men's team or something. Yeah.
Nice. And then
it's actually a theme.
Oh, yeah.
Because at Casco, our next race, we also finished fourth place.
Yeah.
So that's only because some Navy SEALs showed up. So, thank you for your service.
Yeah. And kicking us off the last podium step. But yeah, Casco came. So April to July, we had kind of a pretty big break / build, I guess. And I mean, I felt like, we were putting some hours down there, some laps on the track. I mean, we were putting the work in for sure.
Definitely. And I got COVID right before Casco. So that was,
shit. Really? I forgot about that.
Yeah. I was like super, you were trying to like not make me feel bad about it or anything, but I was like, I'm the weakest link. This is going to suck. I don't know what's going to happen.
That's never how it is. I do remember your wetsuit wishy-washy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I do remember.
I'm not doing that again, by the way.
You did give me permission to be more authoritative.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again. That was just ruining my whole weekend, trying to figure out what wetsuit to...
It was fine. I think I remember telling him, like, whatever you do, I'm sure it's going to work out just totally fine. You're like,
Which is actually not helpful, but...
Oh, sorry. I'll just tell you which one to wear next time then. But we had a great race on that. We were charging good. We had really strong swims. We were feeling the time in the pool was really paying off, and the time on the track, we just felt really quick there, and was feeling good. And we had a good race. We definitely had a good race.
It was a great race. I mean, it was definitely, thinking of how Casco went this year compared to when we did it in 2018. It's like, we're just completely different people.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. No doubt about it. Yeah. And then right after Casco, was it the following weekend, we had the first swim run in California in quite some time Folsom swim run, which was July 23rd or something like that. And that was a little hour and 20-minute thing, but we brought the families, and it was a really cool weekend.
Which was 8 miles. Yeah, it was the first time our families got to watch us swim run, which was really fun. And, we ended up winning the team division. There weren't that many teams or anything like that. But, so that set up a really bad precedent with their children who just think that
we just
win everything.
Win now. And then the race after that one was Attila, and it kind of got real there for a bit, for sure. I mean, the training ramped up on that, and then I got COVID 2 weeks before Attila.
Yep.
Thinking, oh God,
yeah,
here we go. And it ended up, I was fine, and
you're still alive.
I'm still alive. And then before we knew it, we were on Sondheim, and we were getting spooked by that totally loud cannon firing off, and we just started going.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I feel like that's a race that I'm still processing. I mean, I think about it all pretty much every time I'm on a long run. There's something that
reminds you of that. Yeah,
and I mean, it was just such an amazing experience that we'll talk about it later and what our plans are for the future. But yeah, I mean, super proud of our performance, and I mean, that was just an all-timer in terms of events to do.
I can't argue one bit with that, and I'm as time goes on, it's becoming more and more fond for me. And I was thinking today, I'm like, that was just you tell people at work, they're like, oh, you went to Sweden. You're like, yeah, I have, had this podcast for the swim run. You kind of tell them, and you're like, oh, I did this race 10 hours and 20 minutes. And they look at you like you're fucking crazy, which is, I don't blame them. And I'm just thinking, like, that was so much fun for 10 hours and 20 whatever minutes, hanging with my buddy. And we're just like going all over the crazy place in Stockholm.
Just adventure.
I mean, in Sweden.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how we get to do that.
Yeah, again. And even sort of just like the cultural experience of it all was really interesting and just super fun. I mean, talk about warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, it was a good one for sure. And then we still had 2 races left for the season.
Yeah.
So we had Swimrun NC, which was going to be the final year of Swimrun NC.
Which, full disclosure, that's honestly, if we knew it was going to come back in a few years, I probably would have asked to skip it, just because it was just a lot of racing, a lot of time away from the family, and all that. But I'm still super glad that we did it, because it turned out to be
we had a lot of fun.
Just such a super fun race, a really different swimrun experience, but we still had a bunch of like Attila vibes and a lot of vibes from some of the trails that we run near our house here in Novato. It was super fun, and we did that one with the Concho Boys. We stayed at what was it? It was a zip line canopy place.
Carolina zip line tour. If you want one in wherever Swimrun NC is.
Yeah.
Hanging Rock Park. There it is. It was a great time, and I do agree. I think when we sort of got all the races on the calendar, and then Attila happened, we just were like focused on that. And then, you're totally right. I think we were just a little bit burnt out at the end of that. But again, absolutely no regrets. We had a blast there. And I would say, I was thinking about this today a little bit more. NC and Austin, they weren't the fastest that we could have done for how good of shape we've been in that year. We're not denying that. I think each race had a really good couple pieces from there that was made a really solid race. Like our transitions and our swim run sort of flow that we had in those last 2 races, I feel like were just really on a different level than previously before Attila. So we took what we learned in that Attila and sort of laid it out, and that made those last races be different components besides just being fast. Was something that we were able to improve on and really have to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like bunched those 2 races together, Swimrun NC and Swimrun Austin, because, I think from a racecraft perspective, I think the experience of doing Attila just kind of took a lot of pressure off, and we just became like, I felt like I was just much more comfortable in my skin to like think on my feet,
Yeah.
So, I mean, admittedly, you went in a little bit undertrained for those.
Yeah.
But it was still like, all right, well, we're just going to roll with the punches and we're just very nimble. And, it was a thing. It's like, oh, how long is this one? Oh, it rubbed off my paddles. It's like, okay,
Let's
fine.
just do it.
It's
Yeah.
like, no worries. It's like, all right, moving on type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think like having like the feather in your cap of something like the World Championship made for these race experience to be, I mean, could we have been racier? Sure. But you can always swim and run faster, right? Like that's what we always say, like, but yeah, they were super fun to race because it almost, you could, I felt like we were sort of experiencing the leveling up that we've had from the World Championship. And it was just fun. And closing out the season in Swimrun Austin, like, I want to do that as long as possible.
I
because
agree.
It's so much fun every year. It's such a fun race.
And to top it all off, we had some visitors from the UK, Mr. and Mrs. B, and Alex came out, and we had our largest shakeout swim run ever.
Oh my God.
And
you counted, right? What was it? 50
something people. It was just crazy. And again, it's so still surreal that people show up. When we say we're going to be somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a couple of things that we're sort of summing up our race here. Obviously made a ton of progress, both in our swimrun IQ and our performances. Nothing went sideways like the whole year, which is great. And also I think like all the support that we got from people, whether it was in the DMs or Strava or anywhere, it was just like, I mean, it was great. It was so encouraging. I mean, it was a little like, oh my God, like people are actually watching, checking our feed to see how we did here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I mean, they know that we're not pretending we're someone we're not. Like they're here supporting us. And to be honest, I mean, it just feels so great. Like, finishing the world champs and just like my phone, once I was able to get data again, like my phone was blowing up, dude.
It was
great. I mean, it was amazing. It was a really great feeling. And it's great that like, we're trying to put something out into the world while at the same time, like getting after it is to the best of our abilities. And it's just, it makes it seem really like, we're not just like shouting into the void kind of thing.
Yeah. It makes it all a good reason to do it and keep showing up, I guess.
Definitely. So should we talk about what we're thinking for next year?
Let's do it.
I mean, we're going to keep the show going.
Coming in 2023, the Low Tide Boys.
A swimrun podcast.
A swimrun podcast. And
Which
I know
is funny because a bunch of people at the Worlds are like, "Are you gonna?
That was
is the
such
show
a-
over now?" I was like, I mean, I don't think we.
I
can
hadn't even
end
thought
the
about
show.
it like that, which was, and I'm like, oh, have we been like giving that impression off? And then I start second guessing everything. But yeah, like 4 or 5 people asked us that. But yeah, I mean, here's the end of the day. We're still have a lot of fun doing this, and is it a lot of work? Yes, it's a lot of work. I mean, we're not going to front, but like when Chris and it's like, hey, we're talking to this, like I have fun doing this show. Yeah. And if we weren't having fun and we weren't having a good time and I wasn't having fun with Chris and he wasn't having fun with me and whatever, and we weren't having a great time in the fans, we would probably just close it up because it's too much work to not have fun doing it.
Totally.
That's the plain and the simple of it. So as long as we're having fun, the Low Tide Boys will be around. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before. At some point, we need to land this plane, but we're not landing it yet. And I think we have some cool ideas for next year. Our list is still super long of people to interview. I mean,
and then there's people that we talked to 3 years ago that were like, man, we haven't heard, like Lars was a great, we haven't interviewed Lars. So, we talked to him a couple times this year, but there's tons of the Boston White Sox. We haven't had them on since that's a lot. There's tons of people.
It's hard to, if you're like, hey man, how come the Low Tide Boys haven't interviewed us yet? Like, just wait because you're probably on our list, and it's just the list is long,
and we gotta check it twice.
Yeah, maybe. Especially this time of year.
Mm-hmm. You never know who's looking.
Yeah, and then in terms of racing, I think we still haven't really finished like dialing everything in as to what it's going to look like, but pretty sure we're going to do Casco, and we are going to put our names in the hat for World Champs again. We think we have enough points.
Yep.
So it's the type of thing where, we're just going to try to ride it out one more year. We mentioned this before that I don't think Chipper and I, neither of us are interested in doing this like creating some crazy streak. There's
Yeah.
too many races to do, and frankly, you know, I'm here for the variety of experience, and World Champs is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
There's
I'd love to go back and do Utah and Gothenburg, like all the races, but definitely going to go back to World Champs once now that it'd be like super wide-eyed, like we know eyes wide open going into this year's build next year's build, which I think it'll be interesting to sort of train for it now that we know kind of what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah. Totally new perspective on that one. And yeah, that's the one big, in Sharpie.
Yeah.
We have. I think there's a lot of other things around. I mean, you kind of heard thematically. I think in general, we're going to try to be racing a little bit less this year. It just turned out to kind of be a lot for us and for everybody. But there's a lot of interesting things happening around.
Yeah, I mean, there's some new races, so we're going to do our best to try to support.
Yeah.
Ben Racing is putting on 2 swim runs in Oregon.
One in May and like one in July. Something
like that. So we are definitely going to try to, more swim runs, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I think we can help out, and where we want to try to help is where Chris and I see the sport growing more is by having more events that are sort of the local events. And that's where we kind of see trying to invest a little bit more time to help those type of events take off and grow, which we feel will grow the sport that we all love so much.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, I think with that, I think it's been an awesome year.
I mean, it's been
like memories for a lifetime.
It's been a huge long year. Like, have you ever gone to your phone and scrolled back to like the beginning of the year and start looking? You're like, holy shit, we did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of things this year. We were all over the place.
Yeah,
over the place.
Lots of traveling, lots of time away from the family and kids and stuff. But I think, that this sport in many ways has given us a lot already, and we've only been doing it since 2018.
Yeah,
and to be able to give back in this way, I think it's kind of its own reward. And I think our if I could speak for our spouses, I think, when we started doing Swimrun, the thing that they always liked was like, hey, at least we're doing this crazy shit like together. We're like looking out for each other.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be away from the kids, at least you have Chipper to make sure you don't do anything monumentally stupid, right? And I think that, if anything, is what always kind of makes me keep loving Swimrun. Is like, hey, this is something that I'm doing with my bud, and this is something that we go out and experience and have fun doing. And we just want people to have that same experience, basically.
Totally. That's what we want in 2023 for you all.
Yeah.
But that's it for this year for the Low Tide Boys.
Yeah.
Take that calendar, throw it in the bin, bring up the new one.
Yeah, get that cat playing or dogs playing poker.
Yeah, your Thomas Kincaid calendar, whatever, or maybe if you donate to some sort of whatever.
Yeah, your State Farm insurance.
State
calendar.
Farm, your local insurance agent should have a calendar you should already have it.
Yeah.
But anywho, how do we end these?
I don't remember.
Get some cold water. Only you can prevent forest fires. So let's put this fire out, and the Fireside chat is done. We're gonna go eat our s'mores now. Are you peeing? You're peeing on the fire?
No, that's the sizzling from the smoke.
From peeing on the fire.
We're peeing on the fire. I thought it was just water on the fire.
Oh, water.
Like
yeah.
steam.
Okay. Yeah. Steam. The fire's out.
Yeah, fire's out.
We out. Peace. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of Swimrun.
Sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swimrun activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. Way to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run.
Then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then another run.
And then just keep going. Until you're done.
Or maybe can't
And then
stop.
stop.